alien family needed help on the farm. But the three daughters had other intentions. Desperate help arrives. Magnus Reed wiped sweat from his forehead, staring at the dying algae vats that represented his last hope. 3 years since Elena's death, 3 years trying to maintain their dream alone on Verdania 7. The automated systems were failing, and he couldn't afford repairs. His hands trembled as he posted the job listing on the galactic network. Farm help needed, room and board provided. The response came within days. A transport shuttle landed near his homestead, kicking up purple dust. The door opened, revealing 4 figures unlike any he'd seen. The mother stepped forward first, Talisa, dignified despite worn travel clothes, with pale blue skin and silver hair. "I am Talisa of House Valara. We seek honest work and shelter." Her accent carried musical notes. "These are my daughters." The 3 young women descended, and Magnus felt his breath catch. The eldest moved with predatory grace, Naira, with deep violet skin marked by silver patterns that seemed to shimmer. Her curves strained against simple clothing, amber eyes assessing him with unsettling intensity. "Strong shoulders," Naira murmured in her native tongue, not realizing Magnus's translator implant caught every word. The middle daughter bounced down with infectious energy, Kessa, emerald-skinned with copper swirls dancing across her exposed arms. Jade eyes sparkled with mischief as she circled Magnus, her lithe figure moving like flowing water. "And kind eyes," Kessa added, reaching out to brush his forearm with warm fingers before her mother's sharp look pulled her back. The youngest descended last, Vexir, with pale lavender skin traced in delicate gold. She met his gaze briefly, crystal blue eyes reflecting genuine warmth, before looking down shyly. Her graceful movements held unconscious sensuality that made Magnus's pulse quicken. "We work hard," Talisa continued professionally, though Magnus noticed her knowing smile. "My daughters need to learn sustainable farming. You need help. A fair exchange, yes." Magnus nodded, trying to ignore how all 3 sisters watched him with interest that felt distinctly UN professional. "The guest quarters are small but comfortable. We prefer staying close," Naira said, her voice like honey. "To be available whenever you need assistance." Boundaries blur in fieldwork. The first week transformed Magnus's solitary routine into something alive with feminine energy. The sisters proved quick learners, adapting to Verdanian agriculture with impressive dedication. But their methods of learning involved far more physical contact than necessary. Naira worked the protein vats beside him each morning, her body pressing against his back as she needed guidance on valve adjustments she'd mastered days ago. Her violet skin radiated warmth through thin work clothes, and her breath tickled his neck as she whispered questions already answered. "Show me again," she'd purr, placing his hands on controls while her curves molded against him. The silver markings on her skin seemed to glow brighter during these moments, pulsing with something Magnus didn't understand. Midday brought Kessa's playful chaos. She'd challenge him to races through the bioluminescent algae fields, her emerald form darting between tanks with laughter that echoed across the farm. When he caught her, or more accurately, when she let him catch her, they'd tumble together, her jade eyes dancing with mischief as she lingered beneath him longer than accident required. "You're faster than you look," she'd tease, fingers tracing his jawline. "Strong too. I like testing your limits." Evenings belonged to Vexir. After dinner, she'd appear at his workshop with a shy smile, offering to ease his tired muscles. Her hands worked magic across his shoulders, lavender fingers finding every knot with instinctive precision. The gold tracings on her skin illuminated the dim space as she leaned closer, her breath soft against his ear. "You carry too much tension," she'd whisper. "Let me help you release it." Magnus found his defenses crumbling. 3 years of loneliness made their attention intoxicating. He caught himself watching Naira's confident stride, anticipating Kessa's playful ambushes, craving Vexir's gentle touch. Talisa observed everything with maternal satisfaction, occasionally sharing knowing glances with her daughters. One evening, she found Magnus alone, expression troubled. "In Xylian culture," she said gently, "sister bonds extend to chosen mates. When daughters agree on a worthy partner, they court together. It honors our ancestors." Magnus's heart raced. "They're not just being friendly. They're claiming you," Talisa smiled. The question is, will you accept? The storm that changed everything. The electrical storm hit Verdania 7 without warning, lightning splitting purple skies as hurricane winds threatened the delicate protein vats. Alarms shrieked through the compound, and Magnus bolted from his quarters to find the sisters already mobilizing. The temperature regulators are failing, Naira shouted over howling wind, her violet skin slick with rain as she wrestled with manual overrides. Magnus joined her, their bodies pressed together in the cramped control space, working in desperate synchronization. Kessa climbed the vat scaffolding despite dangerous conditions, emerald limbs moving with acrobatic precision as she secured loose panels. "I've got the western section." Lightning illuminated her determined face, copper markings blazing. Vexia worked the backup generators, her usually gentle demeanor transformed into focused intensity. Gold tracings pulsed with each successful connection, pale lavender hands moving with practiced efficiency. For 3 hours they battled the storm, soaked and exhausted, bodies moving in unconscious harmony. When the last system stabilized and the storm passed, they collapsed together in the equipment shed, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. Magnus found himself surrounded by 3 sets of glowing eyes in the darkness, hearts pounding in unison. The air crackled with something beyond storm electricity. Naira moved first, cupping his face with trembling hands. "We nearly lost this." "Lost you," her lips claimed his with fierce desperation, amber eyes blazing. Her kiss tasted of rain and need, her curves pressing against him with undeniable intent. Before Magnus could process, Kessa's playful teasing transformed into genuine passion. She captured his hand, guiding it along her rain-slicked waist as her jade eyes darkened with desire. "No more pretending," she breathed, her mouth finding his neck with heated kisses that made him groan. Vexia's shyness evaporated in the charged atmosphere. She pressed against his other side, crystal blue eyes filled with longing. Her touches were tender but insistent, fingers tracing patterns on his chest that matched the gold markings glowing on her skin. Building something new. Morning light filtered through the equipment shed where 4 bodies lay intertwined, skin patterns still faintly glowing from the night's bonding. Magnus woke to find Naira's violet form draped across his chest, Kessa's emerald legs tangled with his, and Vexia's lavender head resting on his shoulder. The reality of what they'd shared should have terrified him, but instead he felt complete for the first time since Elena's death. "In Xylian tradition," Naira murmured, tracing circles on his skin, "we've begun the claiming rites. But they must be finished properly." Her amber eyes held surprising vulnerability. "If you want us." "All of us," Kessa added, propping herself up with characteristic playfulness tempered by genuine emotion. "We don't separate. Sister bonds mean shared hearts, shared futures." Vexia simply pressed closer, her crystal blue gaze speaking volumes without words. Talisa found them hours later, unsurprised by the glowing marks now visible on Magnus's shoulders, temporary traces that would become permanent with ceremonial completion. She smiled warmly, producing a small ornate box. "These belong to my mate," she explained, revealing 4 interlinked bands of living metal. "In our culture, the matriarch blesses polyamorous unions. Magnus Reed, do you accept my daughters as bonded mates, to honor each equally and build family together?" Magnus looked at each woman, Naira's fierce devotion, Kessa's joyful spirit, Vexia's gentle strength. "I do." The ceremony occurred at sunset, all 4 standing amid the bioluminescent fields. Talisa spoke ancient words as she placed bands on each wrist, the metal warming and merging with their skin. The sisters' markings flared brilliantly, and answering patterns bloomed across Magnus's body in silver, copper, and gold. "You are family now," Talisa declared. 4 hearts, 1 bond. The following weeks established new rhythms. Mornings began with Naira's passionate intensity, her confidence teaching Magnus to embrace desire without guilt. She'd pull him into storage rooms between tasks, reminding him that love included fierce physical connection. Afternoons brought Kessa's playful seduction, turning farm work into elaborate games that ended in laughter and heated kisses among the algae tanks. She taught him that joy and sensuality were inseparable, that partnership included play. Evenings belonged to Vexia's tender intimacy, her gentle guidance helping him process emotions buried since Elena's death. In her arms, he learned that vulnerability was strength, that opening his heart didn't betray his past. Nights they shared equally, 3 women and 1 man creating harmony through give and take, learning each other's rhythms and desires. They established boundaries and communication. Each sister's unique needs balanced with group cohesion. Harvest of Hearts. 6 months transformed the struggling farm into Vidania 7's most productive operation. But the real harvest was measured in laughter echoing across fields, in 4 bodies moving as one coordinated unit, in love that multiplied rather than divided. Magnus stood in the ceremonial garden they'd planted together, watching his bonded mates work. Naira directed operations with natural authority, her violet form commanding respect from new workers they'd hired. Kessa entertained visiting merchants with charm that secured premium contracts, emerald skin glowing with satisfaction. Vexia managed the delicate algae genetics, pale lavender fingers coaxing new strains into existence. Talisa had retired to a cottage on the property's edge, content to watch her daughters flourish. She visited often, bringing wisdom when conflicts arose, because 4 strong personalities didn't always agree, and learning to navigate disagreements strengthened rather than weakened their bond. The twin moons rose as Harvest Festival began, the entire settlement gathering to celebrate Vidania 7's bounty. Magnus found himself surrounded by his mates, each wearing traditional Xylian ceremonial wraps that left little to imagination, their skin patterns blazing with bioluminescent pride. "Remember when you were alone?" Naira whispered, pressing against his side with possessive affection. "Desperate and struggling." "Now look," Kessa twirled, jade eyes sparkling. 4 hearts beating as one, a farm that thrives, a future we're building together. Vexia took his hand gently, intertwining their bonded fingers. "You saved us by offering shelter. We saved you by offering love." As celebration continued around them, Magnus pulled his 3 mates close, their combined glowing patterns creating a constellation of silver, copper, and gold against violet, emerald, and lavender skin. The garden they'd planted bloomed with species from 2 worlds, roots intertwining beneath the surface just as their lives had merged above. To family, Magnus toasted, raising fermented algae wine. To love that multiplies, Naira added with fierce pride. To finding home in unexpected hearts, Kessa laughed, stealing kisses from each of them. To growing together, Vexia finished softly, her crystal blue eyes reflecting the twin moons and the 3 souls she'd chosen to share forever. The Harvest Festival blazed long into the night, but the 4 lovers eventually retreated to their shared quarters, hands intertwined, patterns glowing in perfect synchronization, a living testament that the greatest crops weren't grown in fields, but cultivated in hearts brave enough to love without limits. Lessons from the heart. True wealth isn't measured in credits or land, but in the souls who choose to stand beside you through storms both literal and metaphorical, building something greater than any individual could create alone. Love doesn't diminish when shared among many hearts. Like light splitting through a prism, it transforms into something more beautiful, each relationship adding unique colors to create a spectrum of devotion that illuminates every corner of life. The courage to embrace unconventional love, to honor cultures different from your own, and to build family by choice rather than tradition, opens doors to joy that conventional thinking keeps forever locked. Home is not a place you inherit or a planet you're born on. It's the sanctuary you construct with willing hands and open hearts, where acceptance replaces judgment and partnership replaces loneliness, proving that the universe's greatest harvest is always love.